Hello, happy Tech Talk Tuesday. Happy season 2 of Tech Talk Tuesday. My name is Michael Damon. I'm the owner of WeMergeMedia.com, and every week on Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time, I go live to tell small business owners ways that they can use technology to work smarter and not harder. That is a mouthful, but I'm getting very used to it, and it's working. So yes, welcome back to season 2. We're going to be here today usually anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes. So for anyone who can't stay for the whole time, feel free to check back in later on. Wherever you're watching it now, you'll be able to come back and watch it later and watch the full thing in case you miss anything. So today we're going to be talking about a new topic, which is kind of outside of the normal. And if you've read the description in the video about what this topic was about, you might be having a puzzled look on your face like, huh? Like, what are we talking about? What are we doing? Today, I'm going to talk about my journey with cryptocurrency and Bitcoin. And the reason why I'm going to talk about that is there's a few reasons why. But one of them is just like as an entrepreneur, I am very aware of looking for ways to be able to generate income, especially if it's passive income. But then in addition to that, over the past, I would say 6 months intentionally, I've been very focused on trying to fill in some gaps personally. Personal development, education, that sort of thing. And one of the gaps that I had a huge hole to fill was just my knowledge of personal finance, wealth building, and all of that good stuff. So as an entrepreneur, as somebody who works from home, has my own business, pay myself, I'm kind of outside of the traditional way that people build wealth because I didn't have the knowledge to know what I needed to do when I first started to kind of take advantage of the years to kind of build up and do the traditional investments people do if they have employment. So I've had some 401k, I have IRA, all that good stuff. But a lot of the things that I had over time were tied to employment that I no longer have. So when you become independent and you need to start duplicating those things in your own way, you need to start figuring out, okay, how can I do this? Who do I need to speak to? And just become more knowledgeable. So this whole journey with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency for me all began about pursuing more knowledge and being more knowledgeable about personal finance, investing, and then cryptocurrency. So my journey has been, I'm gonna tell you, like the cryptocurrency world could be very overwhelming. And it's a lot of information that you can take in, but you don't necessarily have to know it all or need to know like all the technical mechanics. That's my perspective on it, so I've started out like, man, this stuff is going over my head. I don't know what in the world they're talking about because I was really kind of diving into trying to understand the technology part. And over the years, I think the other thing that's kind of helped me too is that the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin world itself has gotten better about speaking about itself so that people can understand and have a path in. So I'm the type of person, as you guys know, who is not afraid to jump on some new stuff, try it out, see what happens, bang my head and get a few knots and just see what happens and see what I learn. I was willing to do that in this case when we're talking about the Bitcoin and the cryptocurrency. And I only went in with stuff that I knew I was willing to lose. So that was me personally. Like I was okay with playing that game and figuring it out and just getting the feel for how it works and, the things that you can do with it. So one of the things right away that I've learned is that for me, that has been one of the best ways for me to learn and to truly understand and then go back and kind of read the stuff I was reading before to be like, oh, okay, I can connect the dots now. So I had someone, Carmen, in the Be Well group, she had asked me about cryptocurrency, if anybody heard about Bitcoin, and she's getting contacted by all these people about Bitcoin. I get those same messages too. There are people who are out there who are inboxing and friending you and all this other stuff because they want to get you to buy into something that they're doing with Bitcoin or cryptocurrency. Let me just say, don't do anything that you're not familiar with because there are a lot of people out there who can truly take advantage of you if you don't take the time to do your own research and find out how this thing works. And then if you fit and where you fit. So I have been doing this for the past 6 months, just kind of starting at one place. And as I learn, kind of progress and go through other cryptocurrencies. But specifically today, I'm going to start with my origin story and tell you where I began. And then I'm going to tell you where I am today and what happened in between that. So one of the first things I had to do when I was talking about doing this episode is I really had to check my emotions because as I said in the comment, it was like, I was fearful about talking about this because I'm like, who am I to be talking to people about this? But then I know from my past experiences, anytime I have to ask myself, like, who am I to position myself to speak on this or to do this or to do that? I know that that's typically coming from a place of fear. And I know how to navigate around that and what decisions I need to make to keep moving forward. So this is one of those situations, me coming on here today, talking to you about my experience with Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. I was a little fearful about doing it, and I wondered if it was the right thing to do. But yeah, this is my experience. This is something that I want to say later on, if it goes where I think it's going to go. And if people say, hey, why did you never say anything about it? Here's that opportunity. I'm going to say what I've learned and what I've done and what I know so far. And then I'm also going to share some links afterwards so that if you want to explore this journey, I'm going to put together an actual blog post of some people that I follow and listen to on YouTube, because that's where I've been doing a lot of research and education to kind of just discover some of these cryptocurrencies. But I've been doing a lot on there, and there's people sharing some great information. I also want to just say, as I wrote down in the description of the video, is that I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. This is purely me sharing my personal experience with you, and then you can decide to do what you're going to do from there. So let me just take a quick look and see who's here with us today for Tech Talk. Who do we have in the room? Carmen, thank you for checking in from Arizona. Good morning. You started this, right? Carmen asked me about it a couple of days ago, and I was like, I've been contemplating doing some information on this, and I'm going to have it coming out soon. I didn't mean today, but it became today. So here we are. Happy Tech Talk Tuesday, Loretta Camp. Thank you. Thank you for tuning in from YouTube. We got some more YouTubers. Awake Joy, thank you for tuning in. Good morning and welcome to Tech Talk Tuesday. And you are absolutely right. It is totally business related. This is, for me, it's income generating, revenue generating. To me, it's all the same. Everybody's a little bit different, but for me, this is one of those things that is totally business related in my eyes. And Carmen said it's exactly how I feel. Yeah, it's a lot. It can be a lot, but hopefully I'm going to share some stuff with you that you can then decide. What's up, brother? Mandarell Mans, my brother down in Texas. Good morning to you. Thanks for tuning in. You can decide for yourself after I kind of talk about my journey, what you want to do and if you want to do anything at all. So let me just see what we got. We have one more comment before I change. Keisha Tate, thank you, Dr. Tate, for tuning in. Thanks for stepping out and sharing. You are quite welcome. I had to do this because it's like there's too many times that we're scared to step out to things that are new, and then we miss out on opportunities that we could have taken advantage of had we not let fear get in the way. So for me, I feel like even in the short time that I've been doing this and researching it and trying it out, like I've had some advantages and some gains financially from doing so. And, I want to be able to just kind of share that experience because I know what it's like to not have this type of information and, growing up and to not know this and understanding this stuff. Cryptocurrency wasn't one of those topics back then, but I'm just talking about wealth building in general. And one of the things that people who build wealth do is that they use money to generate and to create more money. So that's something that I knew I had to study and figure out, how can I do this starting where I am? So what I'm going to do today is a lot of the stuff in the cryptocurrency world is app-based. Some of this stuff has websites, but I think for the sake of kind of just telling my story, it's going to be best if I just share my phone with you today and just kind of show you where I started, why I left one place to go to another place, what I learned on that place, and then why I went to the next. So let me go ahead and just get my phone ready so I can do that sharing with you. So just give me a second. We're going to share screen. All right, so let me go over to my phone here. All right, cool. So we are now looking at my phone, and I have a number of different apps that I have on my phone that are kind of related to the cryptocurrency and Bitcoin space, but I'm going to go through three of them. One of them is kind of like where I began. Then I'm going to go through the second one, which I still kind of keep, and then I'll go through the third one where I feel like I'm going to spend most of my time. So like many people, my initial personal experience experimenting with investing and all that good stuff started with Robinhood. As you can see here, I still have a little bit of money in here that I use just to kind of play around with. But over the past 6 months, this is where I started initially. I had quite a bit of money in here that I was playing with to try to understand and see how this all works. But as a lot of people who may follow financial news know, a few months ago, Robinhood was in the news with GameStop and The platform stopped people from trading and all this good stuff. And that was a wake up call for me, because the thing about Robinhood and when it comes to cryptocurrency is that it doesn't have all the tools that you typically want when you're managing cryptocurrency built into Robinhood. So Robinhood has been great for stocks. I loved it for that, because they're in that field. They knew that there's an opportunity in Bitcoin. So they've kind of added that and Ethereum and a couple other crypto coins to their platform. But it was because I was already on there and it was easy to do. I was using that as a starting place. And one of the things that you'll hear a lot when people talk about cryptocurrency and how you manage the money, on what they call exchanges or in these apps, and then something that they call keep them in a wallet. So there's a lot of different ways. Like when you buy cryptocurrency, there's many ways that you can buy it. I initially started by buying mine here in Robinhood. And, one thing I want to point out to people is that people usually get kind of like taken back by is that these prices that you see, like Ethereum right now, it's $1,836. If I was to pull up Bitcoin, it moves a lot. It changes quite a bit. Bitcoin was at over 50 some thousand this morning. Yeah, it's at 54,000 right now. So let me clear the first myth. You do not have to have $54,000 to be in this space. The nice thing about cryptocurrency overall is that you can buy fractions of it. In the same way that Robinhood lets you buy fractions of a share, you can also buy fractions of crypto. So you don't have to have $54,000 to do so. Most people do not, but you can still benefit from the growth of these things the same way you do in the stock world, just by having a small percentage of it. I recently, this morning, was listening to a podcast and they were like, if you end up accumulating, I think it was like 1 or 2% of a Bitcoin and you hold it over the years, like you can end up being considered one of the 1% in the crypto world just by having that small percent of cryptocurrency, or at least Bitcoin, for example. So don't feel like you have to have $54,000 in order to be able to buy a Bitcoin. When it started, it was like pennies. It grew to dollars. It grew to hundreds. It grew to thousands. I think just over like 7 months ago, it was at 10,000. But what's happening is because Bitcoin itself is has a max supply. So it goes back to what we learned about supply and demand. There's only 21 million of these that will ever be generated. So unlike something like gold that can continue to be mined and continue to be replenished, Bitcoin is one of those things that will not be replenished. And for those, if you follow the news now, what's happening is that over the past few months, a lot of like institutional investors, hedge funds, insurance companies, even banks are starting to accumulate Bitcoin. And the more those big companies come in and accumulate, the less there's going to be available, which means the price is going to go up. So a lot of people who are buying right now are buying for the long term. My personal plans, I'm looking at 10 years out. I'm just really at a phase where I'm trying to accumulate as much as I can, just so that I can have that percentage that I have to be able to grow over time. So just imagine like some of the projections is that Bitcoin could reach like $1 million. So if you have 1 or 2% of $1 million in 10 years, you think about what that exponential growth is over time. Now, in between, just in the past 6 months, like I said, I've seen it drop as low as 20 some thousand, and it fluctuates a lot. So if you do this, like, you have to have a stomach for it. And again, you have to know that whatever you're using to do this, you're not afraid to lose it because you're going to see a lot. I'm not worried about it because I'm not looking at short-term game. I'm looking at long-term game. And my whole thing is really just to accumulate as much as I can because I'm looking at what the growth of it, what it could be in the future. So one of the reasons why I started on Robinhood and why I'm no longer on Robinhood is because they don't have what we call a wallet. So if I have, let's say I have $10,000 worth of cryptocurrency here, I would have to sell my cryptocurrency. So now I'm paying a fee to sell it. And then I have to wait for it to go to my bank. And then once it gets to my bank, I can then decide what to do with it. The whole thing about cryptocurrency and Bitcoin is that you, as the controller and owner of it, are supposed to be able to exchange, buy and sell without having to go through a third party, without having to convert your money to what they call fiat currency, to be able to really control the money and the currency for your own purpose and your own use. With Robinhood, you always have to kind of transfer your money through what you've earned through a third party like your bank in order to get it from one place to the next. And I'm not comfortable with that. The one thing that I experienced when I was using Robinhood during that whole GameStop thing is that I was actually trying to purchase, and I couldn't because they locked the app down and they wouldn't allow any transactions to take place. So that was a wake up call for me to realize how, like, if you're buying your cryptocurrency and you have it on one of these platforms, if they don't have a wallet for you to be able to send it where you want it to go and withdraw it when you want to, you can end up being stuck and kind of really defeating the whole purpose of the independence of owning Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So that's where I began on Robinhood. And once I had that kind of wake up call using that, I started doing a little bit of research and trying to figure out, like, okay, where can I go, or what's a good place to go next? So I still wanted ease of use. I wasn't looking for anything that was too difficult because I'm still and was in the process of learning. So I wanted to make sure I had something that was simple. I have Cash App, and a lot of us have Cash App. And I was in here one day and realized that Cash App actually offers Bitcoin. So as you can see, I have a little bit of Bitcoin still in here. I have some in a couple different places. What's upgrade for me from Robinhood to Bitcoin is that Bitcoin gives me what we call a wallet. So I have an address that people can send money to, or Bitcoin to. I can also deposit Bitcoin, so I can send it and I can receive it. I didn't have that on the Robinhood platform. So this gives me a little bit more control about where the money and the Bitcoin that I purchase can go. And this platform, like any other platform, of course, could lock me out and block me out. But this was a step up from the Robinhood platform. Robinhood does plan to add the functionality for you to be able to control your cryptocurrency better. So they give you the ability to deposit and to send without necessarily converting it into US dollars. A lot of the things that's driving this growth and this interest in Bitcoin is the fact that a lot of people are looking at the US dollar, the fact that it's not backed by gold anymore, and realizing that we're kind of in a fragile financial system, and they're looking for that next thing. And if you just look at the world overall, like, we're doing a lot of virtual things, so much is in the internet, so much is web-based. You may still get a paycheck, but when's the last time you actually got a paper paycheck? Really, all you're doing is you're getting numbers in the bank account, and everybody agrees that that's the number that you received. This works in the same way in the cryptocurrency world, but it does not depend on the government and the bank system in order to make it run. It kind of operates outside of that, which is called decentralized finance. So I'm not going to get too technical. I just want to go high level with these things and kind of show you, like, what I experienced on Robinhood. I experienced that lockout. After that lockout, not being able to move things around, I found out about Cash App. And what I like about Cash App is that it's super simple. So I can still transfer money from, like, my personal bank account here. I can still take advantage of the fact that if I want to send Bitcoin to someone or receive Bitcoin from someone, I can actually accept it as a form of payment. So here's what it looks like in Cash App. Cash App, to me, has done a great job of providing some, like, general basic information about what cryptocurrency is. So if you have Cash App, go inside, click on, as you see, I went to the section about Bitcoin, and they have this whole thing that kind of gives you this backstory about where it started and where it began. A lot of people are very fearful of Bitcoin, and I understand, because it's outside of the traditional structure that we're used to. There's not a government managing it, and you wonder, like, what's going to happen if who can pull the strings and who can stop it. It will be very difficult to do that because there's so many things involved on what they call the blockchain that are kind of verifying these transactions, and it's just set into motion and is running. So there is no one controlling entity who can stop Bitcoin. And that's one of the things that you hear a lot from, like, some of the financial institutions about, it's risky, which it is because it's volatile and it moves a lot. But a lot of that too, it's funny how when you follow the news, it's like all these people who are telling you how dangerous it is and how not to get into it are also buying it. And that kind of raised the flag to me, is like, what is up with this? Like, how are you talking about how dangerous this is and advising people not to get it, but you're also buying it in, like, millions of dollars at a time? And what I foresee is that what's happening is that all these institutions are getting it, and they're building up their stockpile of it so that they can later sell it to you. There was a story in the news recently with JP Morgan Chase, where they sent out an email, I believe, to, like, their wealth accounts. So people who have, like, over $10 million in their account or something like that, advising those people to spend at least 1% of their wealth into Bitcoin. But at the same time, not publicly telling all the other people who have accounts at Chase and all that to make those investments. Because why? Of course, they want to be able to buy that, accumulate it, let it go up, and then sell it to you later on when you need it. So I wanted to be personally ahead of that and, take this dive into it now, figure out how it works, and be on the front end of that so I can get it now. There's projections that this 54,000 in Bitcoin could increase in value to 100,000 by the end of the year. There's projections to reach like 200 to 700, 50,000, and $1 million. So I'm kind of just looking at for the long run. I'm not a trader. I don't do any trading. I'm really just trying to accumulate as much as I can so that I can let that ride the wave over the next 10 years and let that grow. So this has been, Cash App. I still keep some on here because I like Cash App because of the ease of use. They make it real easy for you to purchase. So like if I wanted to purchase some Bitcoin, all I'd have to do is just go here. I can go ahead and click buy. I can select an amount. Let's say I want to do $10. And because I have an account already connected to this, all I had to do was hit next. And then within a couple seconds, I have some Bitcoin. The same way that I do that, I can also send that way too. So what I've been doing over the past 6 months is I've set this and I've just been buying like $10 a week. That's what I've been doing. And I've had my initial investment. So initially, before I got the third app that I'm going to show you, I think I put in about maybe $1,000 into Bitcoin through Cash App and had pulled my money out of that since then and still had $1,000 left. So in that 6 months, I was able to take 1,000, turn it into 2 simply by riding the waves and not being fearful of it because I believe where it's going. So I kept some on here just so I can still kind of play and experiment with, but just to kind of give you an idea of like the growth and the volatility of it. As you can see back in the early days, so if I go way back to, what is this? This is the past year. So about over in March 24th, this was about $6,600. And you can see as time goes, it's growing. And what's happening is that the more that it goes, more people are accumulating, the less of it is available. You see these big, huge jumps here. And this is exactly where a lot of the institutional banks and hedge funds and all that stuff, they started getting into it. And then here you can see the growth, recently insurance companies and all these other wealth managers are starting to get into it. And everybody's kind of racing to the finish line to get it while they can because they know where it's going. So that's just kind of what that looks like. If you look at this like on a weekly basis, you can see there's some huge drops. And some people just can't handle seeing these kind of drops. So I don't recommend if you are someone who's kind of fearful of watching this stuff in the short term, don't do it because you're going to see it. I'm not afraid of it. So I was okay with kind of to doing that and seeing how it works. But, I understand the patterns a little bit, and I understand that this is just part of what happens as it goes and as we get closer to the fact that it's decreasing in availability. So that's where that is. And this was phase 2 of the journey I went through with Bitcoin. So from here, I've learned a little bit more. So as you can see all through this process, I'm constantly learning things and making different decisions based on what I learned. And one of the things that I wanted is I started learning about other cryptocurrencies besides Bitcoin. But Cash App, which is the place that I like to purchase it, doesn't offer anything outside of Bitcoin at the time. So I'm like, okay, where can I go to kind of experiment and play around with a few others? And one of my friends back in Milwaukee, shout out to Nate's America, he put me onto an app called Voyager. And that's why I took some of the money that I had here in Cash App and took it over to Voyager. So Voyager looks a little bit intimidating because there's a lot of data and a lot of information on here, but they also have access to all of these different cryptocurrencies. So you often hear about Bitcoin because that's like, if you think about our financial world outside of cryptocurrency, there's gold, there's silver, you have all these different things that people invest in, all these different financial tools that people invest in to grow their money. So what's happening with Bitcoin, where it used to be talked about as a currency, where you kind of exchange it the way that we exchange US dollars, is now been viewed as what they call a store of value. So people are starting to look at Bitcoin as gold in a digital world. So they're buying Bitcoin to store value for future growth and, kind of as reassurance for later on. They're putting it there for safety, the way that people traditionally buy gold. So that's what's happening. So if you look at these cryptocurrencies overall, I'm going to show you what we call the market cap. So which ones have the greatest value? These are some of the top ones. So there's Bitcoin at the top. That's over 1 month with a market cap of $1 billion. The next one down is Ethereum. So that one's down about 200 billion. But what's happening is like these ones that are here at the top are the ones that are kind of having the biggest value. But I would equate like Bitcoin as gold, the way that we look at gold and compared to our US dollars. Think of Bitcoin as gold. And that's why it's kind of the leader in the cryptocurrency space. It's the one that a lot of this blockchain technology and everything was based on. And from there, just like everything else, especially when it comes to technology, things start branching out and other things get created. So one of the second one here that gets created is called Ethereum. So I wanted to get into this game because I realized that this is another technology which people are building other applications on. It's not just about currency. It's actually a platform that people are building apps. They're building whole virtual worlds using this platform, and this has been kind of like the second coming of cryptocurrency. So I wanted to get in on that, and I couldn't do that while I was on Cash App because they don't offer that. So I got onto Voyager, and as you can see here, this one fluctuates quite a bit as well. Look at all these big dips. You see it was down as low as $1,200 up to $2,000 just in the past month. So cryptocurrency is a very volatile space. It moves quite a bit. But you can also see, currently I only have 0.07. So I have $134 worth, and I've in total earned about $10 there. The Bitcoin that I transferred over here, I've seen take a brutal beating, but I'm okay with that because, again, I'm here for what it's going to be 10 years from now. But just currently, I've gained about $63 there. And then a couple of the other ones that I was playing around with that I wanted to get into was this one called Cardano. So this was their cryptocurrency is called ADA. I wanted to get into this one. I bought this one because this is kind of being perceived as the next evolution of cryptocurrency, kind of like the 3.0 version. It's not out yet. It's still experimental, but it has some promising things coming to it. So I'm kind of getting in there early. I have this one here that I purchased called Mana. So this one was interesting. I bought this because there's a virtual world called Decentraland, where if you are old school and you remember like Second Life, or if you've seen the movie, like I think it's called Ready Player One, they've built this virtual world on this blockchain using the blockchain technology where the currency in there to buy land, to buy clothes and all this other stuff, people are spending like real money, 70, 100, thousands, millions of dollars to buy this like virtual land in Decentraland. It's crazy. So like right now, there's a lot of like virtual real estate purchasing going on. But of course, being the experimenter that I am, I wanted to try it out. So I bought some so I can kind of go in that world and transact a little bit. Couldn't afford nothing, not with the little amount that I have. But I was able to buy this at a point when it was at about 28 cents per mana. And that's grown 95%. And I don't think I haven't had this more than a month. So just in the past month, that amount that I purchased has grown 96% and given me like an $85 return. And then the last one that I have here, I'll be honest, I totally bought it on speculative. It was super cheap, not even a penny. And I was like, I'm going to research this later, but let me just put a little bit of money in there for now, just so I can secure some, and then I'll research it later. I did a little bit of research, but not in-depth research. So this is kind of like a gamble play. But the ones that I spend more time with are the Bitcoin, the Ethereum, the Cardano, the Mana, because those are projects that I've researched and I've listened to, like other people talk about them on YouTube, read some of their white papers, and I'm spending more time in those. But this has been the evolution of my journey now. So I'm here on this platform because this one gives me access to more cryptocurrencies besides Bitcoin, and it gives me the ability to still be able to do what I liked on Cash App, which is trade out. If I want to send or receive, or if I want to buy and sell, I can do that pretty easily here. I can send this and use it wherever I want to, where in Robinhood I couldn't. So I know I covered a whole bunch of stuff. I'm going to go back to the comments real quick and just see if we have any questions at all. And then we're going to close out today's session of Tech Talk. So let me do that. Where's my, I need to go. Here we go. Let's get caught up. There we go. Stop screen share. Okay, cool. All right. Let's see. Where are we? 10:30. This was a half an hour because there was a lot to cover here. So let me see who we have here. Emil, good morning to you. Thanks for tuning in. Tawanda, good morning. Pine Bluff, Arkansas. Thank you for tuning in. Oh, you're quite welcome. I'm going to put some links down in the comments afterwards, just to kind of share some of the people that I follow on YouTube that I subscribe to and that I've been learning from. I'll also put links to the apps that I talked about. So if you want to give them a try, feel free to. Again, only do what you're willing to experiment with, because as you can see, like, it's super, super volatile. And depending on what your goals and your plans are, you need to be prepared to ride those waves if you want to. So Emil said, I believe companies will continue to adopt cryptocurrency as a method of payment that will drive demand. I absolutely agree with you. And I'm curious which one it's actually going to be. He said, however, I don't think the average wage owner will ever accept crypto as a primary method. Agreed. I think it's going to be something that's more in the financial space. Now, one thing you need to know about Emil is he's in the financial industry. He's in DC and he knows what he's talking about. So it's kind of cool to get him here and hear his perspective and what he says. Crypto as a vehicle to store value is probably going to be its primary use, like gold and silver, which I also agree with. And, my approach to a lot of those has been to think about them in that way, not necessarily about using them in a daily transaction. The only one that I got to use like in a transactional way was the Mana, but Mana is built on the Ethereum network. But I used that one because I wanted to go into that virtual world and see if I can buy some land up in there before everybody snatches it up. But I couldn't find anything just yet. But I do agree with you, Emil, that it is going to be more store of value type thing, the same way that people, look to store their wealth into stocks. I think that cryptocurrencies are going to be another way of doing that. Let's see. The blockchain technology is the real value in all this, which is absolutely true. And which is why you'll see a whole lot of other things coming using the blockchain technology, because people are starting to look at using it for contracts. So like Ethereum, for example, they have this thing called smart contracts, and they're talking about being able to transfer ownership of property like homes and all of that stuff, using that instead of all that paper stuff that we do now. So it's going to be interesting to see like where the cryptocurrency industry goes and where these things get applied. Like anything, when it's new, it's going to go through evolution. It's going to evolve and become other things. And it's going to be scary, but I'm okay with the scariness. I'm going to ride it out. I'm learning in the process and I'm benefiting in the process. So we'll kind of see where it ends up. Thank you, Dr. Tate. She says, great job and informative. Thank you for tuning in. And thank you for sharing your thoughts as well. So thank you, everybody. That's Tech Talk Tuesday, Season 2, Episode 1. That I wanted to cover that because this has been something that a lot of my time has been devoted to recently. But then also I like kind of discovering things that are new for me and then sharing it with you in case you are also in that point where you're asking like, who am I to be doing this or what is this? I wanted to just kind of share my personal experience and what journey I went through and why I made the decisions that I made. So I hope this information was helpful for everybody. I hope that you enjoyed it. I'll put those links that we talked about in the comments below and feel free to check them out if you like. All right. So that's our episode. I'll see you next week, Tuesday, for Tech Talk Tuesday, again at 10 a.m. Mountain Standard Time in Arizona and 11 Central, 12 Eastern. Okay, 10, 11, 12. See you then. Take care.